Hello and welcome back to my TDI build. Now, in my last video I put a Mk4 heater box so I could get air conditioning. The only thing is now, I don't know how to control it. So if you're new to the channel or you're not seeing any of my other stuff, in my last video, which I'll leave in the description below, I fitted this Mk4 heater box into my Corrado, which would be pretty much the same for a Mk3 Golf, and I'm reckoning Mk2 Golf as well. So here's the standard setup, really basic. If you're into your old V-dubs, you'll recognise this. Hasn't changed much in the years. Yes, the later Corrado did change to dials and turns, did do an update of this part of the dash. Do you know what? I'm not interested in it. I want it old, I want it retro. So if you look at the heater box, all the cables come out towards the right hand side. All the ones on this side all come to the left. Where are we? And they're all slightly different lengths. I'm going to use some of the cables from this one, swap them exactly as they are. So let's have a look at the differences in the controls. So, Mk4 one, again, cable fed. As the basics, you're turning round, it's able to go up and down. Fairly basic, moving two cables. I also had that came with the car, which I'm guessing is either a Mk3 or later, or similar sort of year, mid-90s Passat. Heater controls, don't think it really matters, that's more or less all I've got of them. And if we look at that, that's pretty much identical to that one. There's not much difference in it, apart from the cables come in the opposite way. Right, these little clips that secure it on are absolutely evil, but they're not supposed to come off that easy. It's a little simple little spring clip. It's a bit like a glorified C clip. Original box. Let's see if I can get my finger behind it. Yep, that's off. And then it has got a bit of a spring round the outside. You want to be ever so careful because we don't want to damage the arm. Okay, that's that one. That's the original cable off. The Corrado one on there. So that comes up. Slot it on there, and then I'm just, for now, I'm going to put it exactly how it came off. That's maximum travel. Right, let's try that. Okay. That's the little flappy. That seems to be working. So the next one I'm going to transfer over is this one. Just a little set of grips, just helps it stop it from pinging off and it hitting you on the head. Let's get rid of that foam. So all this foam's all deteriorated. Take that off by hand and then move it over to the other side. So I'm going to do the like for like one. Those two mounting points are different. This is where the Mk4 box is a little bit different. It comes the opposite way. So it's going to change the cooling the opposite way, or it's just modified this arm. Go unspring this. take that one out your way and put the original Corrado one on, and then just work it. Is that working as it should? Yeah, that looks about right. I don't think that needs any adjustments. Now this bottom one is slightly harder. This is a temperature flap which comes round the opposite way. So what I'm going to do is you're going to take off the clip, I'm going to take off the cable. See, this is the problem that we've got. Those two are correct. They're the directional up down two flaps, which pretty much tie into where the original Corrado one's at. But this is the temp one, and that is just too tight a radius on there. I'm not happy with that. So I'm going to work out which cables out the two that I've already took off are going to be the best, and then I'll modify these ones to suit. So that's roughly, do you know what, I'm just going to go with that one, because if we look at how that bends, it can come up, it can come round, there's a bit of a radius around the top. I don't think that's too much of an issue. If we just try it with a longer one, I'm going to do it with the longer one. And the only reason I've suddenly decided to do the longer one is that a tighter bend is going to be stiffer inside, or potentially, yeah, that doesn't really want to move, whereas a nice gentle bend is going to be easier. I'm going to modify this by taking this plastic mounting clip off and just leave the inner section, and then I can change this to suit. So running this cable, the longer one, I'm going to run it through there. I think going to run it round the back of where this heater box comes through. I'll sort my eye out. Is going to be the right sort of move. As that goes to the bottom one, I'm going to try and keep the length about right. Now the thing is, got a little spring clip on. This one's got a slightly different unit, which is pretty much like an L shape or an S shape, so it sits in there, so I may have to bend that slightly to go through. So really hard to tell. See how that? What I'm going to do, I'm going to snip the end of that coil off. Let's just put a little bit more of a kink on it. And now what I'm going to do, now I've got it apart, because there's a little bit of twisting on these cables now, I'm going to take them off at this side, just relax the cables, see if they spin around a little bit more, and then refit them. Might make a big difference, the actual functionality of it. I'm going to put this back together, I'm going to try and put the dash back in. Now it's the moment of truth. Have I got it all right? Don't know. Alright, so I've put the battery back on, put the earth in the fan. that should be face. No, that's the top dash. So that's blended between the face and the feet. Possibly not, right? It should be just the feet. No, that's definitely not the feet. And that should be just top. No, that's that one working. Something alright here. Now, when I was trying to put the cable in from this way and that way, I ended up taking the cables off and just working out which way around they went and how the motor box went. It's almost like all Mark IVs have got a left-hand drive motor, so whether the left-hand drive controls would work differently. Really need to look that up. When trying to operate it, basically the way that it's set up, it's slightly different to the Corrado version. I'm going to have to cut off this and weld it on the other side. I don't know if the left-hand drive is slightly different, but I haven't got left-hand drive or parts or anything available at the moment. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to chop that and weld it on the other side. So instead, I stripped it down and I've made that now go the opposite way. Whether it works or not, only one way to find out. Looking at the part number, this is left hand drive and right hand drive. You've got 191, 192. One is left hand drive, 2 is right hand drive markets. So this bit is the same part number for both left hand drive and right hand drive. So it'd be interesting whether these levers are available separately and whether listed left hand drive and right hand drive, because almost if the cables can come from both sides. I'm intrigued now. So I've been almost all day messing around with this, but I am actually happy, content I've got it right. So Mark IV heater box connected to Corrado or Mark II heater controls. So let's put some fans on. Oh, spark. So we use that as reference. So all the way up, I've got air coming out the top now. Got air coming out the bottom. Mixture between top and bottom, and just face. So that is absolutely bang on, because before I had it set up completely different and I've worked out what it is. So essentially, if you want a straightforward swap without any welding or messing around, you might need a left hand drive, one of these controllers. But now I've got it working with the Mark IV thing, I'm quite happy with that, and I'm going to get this dash back to reasonably back together so I can finish off the wiring and actually finish off the car, because I've got other projects I want to be doing, not this. Don't get me wrong, I like this. I'm just spending so much time doing this one. This other thing I would rather be doing. But sometimes it's those little fiddly things that makes the difference between it being right or just working. And at the moment I'm aiming for right. I can't tell you what cables I've used in the end between here, there and everywhere, because it's a mixture of Mark IV to the temperature flap underneath, one of the Corrado ones to the top flap, and one of the original Mark IV ones to the one of the other controls, I think top to bottom, or the feet controls. Because I'm really confused, because I've had things on and off trying to get all the lengths about right. So if you want to see how I get on with this, subscribe. If you're not interested in how the Corrado gets on, subscribe anyway. I'm always messing around with something that's VAG related. And this just goes to show you that you can raid Mark IV bits, which are relatively cheap, to replace your Corrado bits and pieces, or Mk4 Golf, Mk3 bits, and that fan is far superior. I'm going to be happy with that. So remember to share, like and subscribe. Thanks very much for watching. Go and enjoy an old car. Ta-da!